Welcome to this week's Hymn of the Week. This week we have ELW 322, O Love, How Deep. This hymn's text includes the full story of what God did and does for us. The whole thing from the beginning all the way to the end, in a way, with the doxology tagged on in verse 7. So it's a great text, and it's often ascribed, as we see here, to Thomas à Kempis, the monk, and some bear relation or some connection to the devotional he wrote, The Imitation of Christ. That was actually one of the first books to be published in 1471. So there might be a connection there. We don't know for sure. But one thing, if you want, you could read the book by Thomas à Kempis, The Imitation of Christ, and see how this hymn text relates. The Latin by Thomas à Kempis has originally 23 stanzas. So obviously some of those were removed for congregational singing purposes. So here we have 2, 4, 9, 10, 11, and 12 is what is in here. And that was translated by Benjamin Webb in 1906 for the English Hymnal, one of the big books of the church for song. And this music is also, we can see it states English ballad, but it's also known as the Agincourt hymn. And the reason for that is it celebrates King Henry V's victory at the Battle of Agincourt in 1415. And so it's great that the editors, when they matched this tune with this text of the 1906 English hymnal, they really matched the music of the time to the text of the time, very likely. So it's interesting here is we don't have that Western tonality that we usually have today. We have the hint of the Dorian. It's pretty tricky. Sometimes when I play it, I want to play the A flat. And you know why, friends? Because it's later in the second line. So it goes back to the C minor. So there's a hint of the Dorian and the minor, but it's really it's really its own sort of song, instrumental work in itself, and it doesn't really apply much of Western tonality. So I'm going to try a challenge with this one. It's definitely about, obviously we know the music relates to the battle. So although this is not really, you could, or we could, as the believers or even as Christians, relate to these verses as overcoming the battle for salvation, that Jesus wins for us. Of course, this is all Jesus doing the salvation, none of us. But it's overcoming that battle by receiving that story, seeing what God did when he brought Jesus to earth, like baptism, prayed, the wickedness, for us by wickedness betrayed. Jesus put on the crown of thorns, right? And then he rose from death again, sent his Spirit. And all glory to the Lord. So it's that battle that we could look at it that way, that battle of ourselves, that we need to let go of ourselves so we can receive the gift of Jesus that has come to earth and how it changes us. So I'm going to try to set most of this with reeds. I might throw in a few mixtures at times, but I'm going to try to do most of it with reeds to relate to that. So here we go. Oh, love, how deep. certainly looking at that piece from the point of someone seeking Christ as a battle, letting go of that life to receive Christ's grace and sacrifice, can be very powerful. And so it turned into a whole different variation than I thought it would. However, let's let it stand for itself. And thank you very much for listening to Hymn of the Week. Amen.